Today we're going to do something a little different. This is a high risk, high reward type area. I've gotten up here and found no tracks. I've gotten up here and seen some of the biggest deer tracks of my life. This is really big country. I've had probably 4 cameras up here over the last 2 years, and I know for a fact they're sort of using this ridge all throughout the year, specifically during the rut, and they're also up here during the summertime. So I'm gonna get all the way up on this plateau and just look for a fresh buck track, praying that I cut one. If I do cut a fresh buck track, it's gonna be a decent buck. These bucks don't get killed very often. It's so far out in national forest that it just takes a lot of work on the front end to get there before you start hunting. So I'm banking on these deer using some of their historical sign that I've found in years past, and I was really hoping that one of those scrapes is active, or at least deer have been moving through there since this storm. It's about 7:15, so I got a little bit of time before I get up to the top of this ridge, but I'm gonna get to hiking, and I mean, hopefully I cross something. The last few days I've been on bucks. I haven't been in woods that I can actually shoot in. They kept bringing me into some stupid thick stuff. These woods are more open, and I'm really hoping that that results in a few good shots at a good buck. So, with any luck, we'll get on something, but something with a big rack. That's what I'm looking for today. I'm now on top of a plateau, way up on the mountain. I've got 2 more deer working the edge. Typically, when you have a deer that's sort of working a transition, whether it be terrain or forest, it's a buck. There's a little bit of a toe drag to this deer. It's hard to tell. The snow's so deep, it's falling in and crumbling on itself. You don't get a clear print. So, I'm trying to make a decision here if I follow these deer or if I keep going up and try to cut another big buck track. Like, without a doubt, it's a big buck track. I think I might just go a little bit farther, and if I don't get on another big track, circle back to these guys. But on the other hand, you know, I look at the print and it seems like the dew claws are back here. It's not an obvious big buck, and that's a problem out here, because I could follow these deer for miles before I find their bed, and then all of them are does, and that would be a massive waste of time. I am down to the wire this season, and I've been following deer, getting bucks in my sights, but it's just been too thick. That's why I switched it up and came down this way. What to do? The track does look like it's teetering out like that. I'm gonna follow them for a little bit. If I know for a fact they're not worth continuing, I'll get off of them, but I gotta do my due diligence. We only have so much time. I'm almost certain this is a buck. He's dragging his toes. You can see these 2 little lines. Look. This is sort of like a skate. He's just kind of skating on top. This is definitely a buck. staggered to him, so he's going left, right. I mean, he might not be a giant, but he's gonna catch lead if I see him. We're gonna take these deer, see if I can catch up. I think we got a buck track here. I think we're on 2 bucks actually. One is for sure a buck. I gotta catch up to them and kill them. Hopefully they're not in this when I find them. This one's dragging way harder. This looks like a bigger buck. Could be the same deer. He could have laid down out there and came back through. This is a really big buck. We're gonna track this one and try to shoot him. That poop is pretty old, so I'm gonna have to pick up the pace, but that's exactly why it came up here. That is a big deer. So I'm on a literal giant right now. Giant. And if it's the buck that I'm hoping it is, he is a humongous 8-point. For point of reference. Freak. He's bringing me through this super tight swamp. And I can see him stopping and turning to get his antlers through certain spaces because the trees are too tight together for him to fit through. It's 9:30. I just took my jacket off to be a little bit quieter. I'm going to move on this deer. I'm a ways behind him, but I've got 2 days to track him, so we're going to see if we can make a miracle out of this. Together. I knew it. I mean, I crossed a nice big track on top of this ridge. Fresher. I'm like, that looks exactly like the size of the buck I'm following. You gotta be sure though, that's the tricky part. So he brings me down this shelf, following a doe, and then probably decides she's not hot and friggin' comes around. He's going right back up the mountain. And I bet if we kill this buck, it's going to be across this power line that's very remote as it is, on the other side of the hill. I knew it. So now I'm just trying to catch up to this thing without wearing myself out. But you know what? I'm probably going to wear myself out anyway, so I might as well just go. It's a pretty nice buck. I think that's the same one. He's rutted up bad, like real bad. I just gotta figure out where he exited. That's his foot. I'm trying to sort this out because I got a bed back there and this buck is walking all over this place. So I need to be damn sure that he's going down and not up if I find a track that's going down. Looks like he got up out of his bed. Started walking around, feeding. Came over here. Made this scrape. It looks like he goes off to the right. Problem is I got tracks that are going to the left too. I'm gonna have some water. Try and sort this track out. I gotta stay hydrated. I can feel my muscles getting all tight. You can see it in my lips. It's the track and grind. It is brutal, but you know what? Sometimes you get on them, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get on big ones like this and you have to follow them. So I'm gonna get it sorted out and we're gonna try to kill this buck. I think there's 2 bucks in here. I gotta stick to the one that's been dragging the hardest. One exits that way out of that bed. And then that one looks like it's going in the same direction. But this is definitely the buck that I've been following. He's got this wicked toe drag to him. Walks straight up to this rub, or scrape. Straight up, hits it, and then exits out that way. I mean, that's the track I gotta take, I guess. Old tracks game. I've done it before, I can do it again. Hopefully. Really just depends on how far ahead he is. Last time I did this, I tracked a buck all the way up the mountain. Started coming back to an area where he had bedded and I shot him like 40 yards from that spot. I don't know if this is going to be the same game yet. So I did a couple circles around those beds and I found 2 exit points. One had 2 deer leaving, one had 1. The 2 deer that were leaving, I was like, they got a little drag to them, it could be them. I was like, you know what? Something doesn't feel right about it. I think it's the wrong track. So I looked for the second exit. I started following it, and it was in fact the right buck. And he started walking in the direction that I had been in earlier, where I got to the top of this ridge before we dropped down and did that whole mess, dancing, going every which direction. So I'm now standing, excuse me, I'm now standing in the middle of that intersection. That buck had brought me off the top of this ridge, went all the way down behind me, down the ridge, came up, bedded over here, and then came back and crossed his own track. Got like granola in my throat. Crossed his own track and is now heading back up the ridge. I know this is the one that I want to kill, so we're back in the game. It just wasted like an hour, so I got to pick up the pace. Oh yeah, that's it. That's the buck we want to kill right there. Still frozen. Oh yeah, he's rutted up big time. Gotta keep going. Possibly 2 bucks in here. That's a big one for sure. That's a decent sized deer. I think it might be a buck and a doe. Stops here, goes up. That's definitely the buck's bed. Gets up, pisses. Goes back down. If that's another buck, I mean, these things are big. That's a decent deer for sure. Maybe it's the same one, who knows? Holy shit, I jumped him. I think I jumped him. I did. Oh, wow, I caught up to this buck. He's fucking big. Alright. Let's try to catch up to him. I didn't realize that I had caught up to that buck. He's a big buck. Like, definitely worth following for the next 2 days. Big old bed right here. he had come in. It sucks because I got him at the wrong time of day, but he must have heard me coming in. I showed up. I saw that he was feeding on a blowdown. He brought me sort of up this bank here. And at the top of the bank, I found one bed. Then I found a bed that's slightly newer, but still old. Then this buck walks back down here, starts feeding again. I'm thinking he's going up the mountain. Well, he ends up slowly coming past these spruce. And I end up finding a brand new bed with running tracks from it. I would never have seen him if you look behind me. That's the direction I came from. So you've got a blow down, multiple different spruce trees that I just like, I was never going to see him. But we're going to swap a battery out. I'm going to let this deer settle down. I know I'm in the game. That's what matters. Sometimes you just got to believe in old tracks. It's 12:35. Can I get it done? Last time I said, what's the over-under? I'm curious. This buck wants to lay down pretty bad. He laid down on this little shelf that I'm standing on. It's as wide as a deer bed. And he was just simply watching me come up the ridge, and I couldn't see him at all. I didn't see a flash of brown. I saw nothing. This buck is still going up the ridge. I'm hoping he loops right. If he starts going right and down, I might be able to kill him before it gets dark. I'd have wind advantage and height advantage. I'd like to try to force him down the ridge so that I can get on him tomorrow morning and just keep following this deer. I honestly can't believe I caught up to him so early. I was hoping to have him out of his bed walking around when I shot him first. Now it's going to be a matter of, can I catch up and shoot him? Just took a water break. I'm going to get back on this deer. He's probably going to be watching his back trail pretty bad, so it's a struggle this year. I've been on bucks every day it snowed except for one day. They just won't stay on their feet during the day. So it's just constant bedding, trying to find a bedded deer, bedding down in softwoods that are so thick you can't see 5 yards. This is the first buck bed, especially mature buck, that I have found in open hardwoods. And it was an escape plan. That's how it goes.